Hello students. So here in this video lecture I will be discussing about the concept of instrumental methods of analysis, which is a continuation of our previous video lecture. So today here we will be discussing about two more instruments, that is conductometry and potentiometry methods, and what are its applications. So the topic that I have discussed in this video lecture is mainly related to page number 9 to 14 of the study material that is given to you under module 5, that is instrumental method of analysis and nanomaterials. So first instrument that we are going to discuss is conductometer. So conductometry is a method which involves the measurement of electrical conductance with respect to the concentration of the solution or ability of a solution to carry an electric current. So this conductometric titration is one of the standard technique in analytical chemistry. So here mainly it is used to find out the conductance of a solution, or also it can be used to analyze the end point of a titration that include ions of different mobility. So here the electrical conductivity of the reaction mixture is continuously monitored using the instrument conductometer. So the method that we follow here for conductometry titration, we call it as conductometry. So here what is the equivalent point, how the end point is obtained here, where the conductivity undergoes sudden change, that point we call it as equivalent point. So mainly the various factors are involved in changing in the concentration of the solution as well as the value of the conductance that we observe. So usually acid-base titrations, like acid-base titrations as well as redox titrations are performed using this conductometer. So titration of HCl versus NaOH or mixture of acid versus NaOH. So these type of titrations can be effectively studied by conductometry method, as well as we can find out the amount of species present in the solution. So this is about the basic introduction about conductometry method. So this is a method of analysis concerned with electrical conductance through an electrolytic solution by means of a conductometer. So here we are using the instrument conductometer. So what is the electrical conductance? So electrolytic conductance means it is a measure of the ability of a solution, how it carry the electric current. So electrolytic solutions conduct current mainly due to the migration of ions, as we know. So under the influence of electric field, there will be migration of different types of ions, and based on that how the solution can carry the electrical current because of the presence of ions. So that is continuously monitored through recording the conductance value. And how this conductivity of an electrolytic solution varies. So mainly the electrolytic solutions depends on the following factors and also about its conductivity. Mainly what type of ions are present in the solution, whether it is cations, anions, or whether it is monovalent, divalent, singly or doubly charged. As well as the concentration of the ions plays an important role. And as the concentration varies, the ability of a solution to carry an electric current also varies. As the concentration varies, the type of ions present, concentration of the ions also varies. Maybe one of the highly mobile ion can be replaced by less mobile ion, so that the conductance ability decreases. So that is how the concentration of the ions also influences, as well as the temperature of the system, as well as the mobility of the ions. So concentration of the ions and mobility of the ions plays a major role so in determining the electrolytic conductivity of an electrolytic solution. So we know the basic concept related to Ohm's law, which is in terms related to the conductivity, resistance and conductance terms, as we are all familiar about the terms. So I'll be briefly mentioning about few of the introductory part related to that resistance, conductance also. So we know what is Ohm's law. So Ohm's law is E is equal to IR. So this is equation which is based on Ohm's law, where conductivity of a electrolytic solution is similar to a metallic conductor, and in such cases it obeys Ohm's law, that is E is equal to IR, where E is the applied potential always expressed in terms of volts, and I is the current and R is the resistance. So we know what is resistance, what is current, as well as the voltage that we apply. So actually resistance is nothing but it is the measure of hindrance caused for the flow of current under the potential applied. So as the term indicates, resistance, the hindrance caused for the flow of current is called as resistance. And we know how resistance and conductance are related to each other. They are inversely proportional, that is conductance is nothing but the reciprocal of resistance, right? So this is how these basic terms can be expressed, or how they are related. So conductance in other terms, if you explain other than reciprocal of resistance, it is the ease with which the current flows per unit area of the conductor per unit of potential applied or volts applied, that is can be represented as C, that is conductance is 1 by R, nothing but the reciprocal of resistance, or in other words how we express, or C is equal to I by E, that is nothing but in terms of the current flow per unit area of the conductor per unit potential applied. E is the potential here, so this can be expressed in this manner, as well as reciprocal of resistance also, and always it is expressed in terms of per ohm or Siemens, indicated by S. Okay, so it is known that resistance of any conductor is directly proportional to the length, and it is inversely proportional to the area of cross section. That is with respect to the specific conductance, how we express these terms. So we know what is specific conductance. So conductance of an electrolyte solution, where the solution is kept between two electrodes of 1 meter square cross sectional area at 1 meter apart. So that is the condition maintained. So it is conductance of a usually meter cube of the solution. Actually specific conductance is the conductance of meter cube of the solution, where what we can expect, the distance between the two electrodes of cross sectional area at 1 meter apart. So here also the term specific conductance, there also how we can relate, that is conductivity. Specific conductance is nothing but conductivity is the reciprocal of specific resistance. So K is equal to 1 by S. So SI unit of specific conductance is always expressed in terms of Siemens per meter square, and we are all familiar about the types of conductance that we use, the terms used in case of electrolytic solution, and how the ion solutions conductance varies. Sometimes we express in terms of equivalent conductance, molar conductance, or even specific conductance. So what is equivalent conductance? It is conductance of a solution containing 1 gram equivalent of the electrolyte, whereas molar conductance with respect to 1 mole of an electrolyte. So the conductance of a solution containing 1 mole of an electrolyte. Similarly, the specific conductance is the conductance of electrolyte solution, where the parallel electrodes are kept 1 centimeter apart and area of cross section 1 centimeter square, or 1 meter apart. If it is then it is area of cross section must be 1 meter square. So what is the instrumentation that is related to this conductometry method? So here the instrument is used called as conductometer, and always we use the AC current source, and how the conductivity cell is made. So here to record the conductance we use conductivity cell. So and this conductivity cell is made up of quartz fitted with 2 platinum electrodes. So the 2 electrodes used here are platinum inside the conductivity cell. So the electrodes, thin plates of platinum, and the electrical conductivity of a solution. How we determine? Mainly by determining the resistance of the solution between 2 cylindrical or flat electrode. So usually platinum electrodes are used, and usually they are separated by a fixed distance, as I mentioned in the case of specific conductance, how the fixed distance is mentioned. So when an electric field is applied, what happens to the electrolyte solution? So when we apply the external electrical field, the ions start moving. So anion migrate to anode and cations to cathode. So this is how in the laboratory, how the instrument that we use for the conductometry experiment. This is a conductometer. So here you can see how it is the solution, electrolyte solution is placed on a stirrer for the uniform stirring of the solution. Uniform concentration is maintained, and this is the conductivity cell dipped. So usually conductometric titration is carried out using this kind of setup, and where here you need to use a burette stand also in addition to this, where we are going to add the solution from the burette to the beaker which has the analyte solution here. So this is how the electrode are placed with the fixed distance L, and with the definite surface area of cross section here you can see. So this is about the instrumentation part. Next, how the volume or concentration of solution is determined here. So here how we will identify the equivalent point during the conductometry titration. So usually it is determined graphically by plotting the graph, how the conductance value varies with respect to the titrant volume. So as we add the titrant from the burette to the beaker, how the conductance value varies, and near the end point usually there will be sharp change in the conductance value. So this is exactly determined by plotting the graph, by taking the change in conductance versus volume of the titrant added. So here usually this conductometry method is used for the determination of qualitative chemical analysis, in which the sample concentration can be determined easily. Even this is applicable for quantitative analysis also. Mainly during the titration, the major point involved here is when you add the titrant, one of the ion is replaced by other ion. So that time what happens, the mobility of the ions also varies, as well as the concentration of the ions also varies. So when these two factors varies, then it will also vary the ability of the conductivity of the solution. So because of these two factors, there will be differ in the ionic conductivity, and because of that we can see there is a change in conductance value throughout the titration. And equivalent point, we can determine it graphically, as I mentioned earlier. So we can study this by taking different examples of conductometric titration and their principle also. So usually, as I mentioned, this conductometry method usually they apply in case of acid-base titration, most of the acid-base titration studies, and even redox titration also. So here in this case we will be studying 3 types of acid-base titration, and how the concentration will influence the conductance of the solution, and how we can graphically plot the equivalent point, as well as how we can determine the concentration of the given solution or mixture of compounds. Also we can determine using conductometry method. So first case we will be discussing about titration of a strong acid with a strong base. So we know how to perform the conductometry experiment. First thing is we need to set the instrument, calibrate the instrument, followed by we need to place the conductivity cell in the beaker, and beaker we are going to take the analyte solution, whereas in the burette we are going to take the titrant. And this beaker placed with the conductivity cell and the analyte solution has to be placed on the magnetic stirrer in order to maintain the uniform concentration of the solution, and we need to record the reading according to the volume of the titrant added, and finally by plotting the graph, by taking the change in conductance value and the volume of the titrant, we can find out the equivalence point or end point. And in addition to that, the concentration of the solution can be, or the analyte can be analyzed easily. So first example is strong acid with strong base. So we'll be considering the example of titration of sodium hydroxide versus HCl. So acid is the analyte, so we can here we can see strong acid is HCl, whereas weak acid is strong base is sodium hydroxide. So we know what is acid, which is always specified by the H plus ions, and base with the hydroxyl anion. So you can represent the reaction between acid and base like this. So when NaOH is added to HCl, what happens? The acid H plus is replaced by Na plus ions. As you can see, acid H plus is replaced by Na plus ions, and along with the liberation of water molecule. So during the reaction, during the titration, what happens? You can see here, H plus ion mobility is different, whereas Na plus ion mobility is different. So mobility of one ion is replaced by ion with another mobility, as well as the concentration of H plus ion is also varied. So due to these factors, there will be change in the conductance value. So as you can see, when you perform the experiment, strong acid versus strong base, we know what is strong acid. Strong acids are acid, usually they dissociate easily, completely. So here, when you observe the value of conductance, so before the starting point, what you can observe, the conductance value was high, and as you go on adding NaOH, so here it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 we can consider. So as you go on adding sodium hydroxide, what happens here? This conductance is with respect to HCl in the beaker. So beaker we have taken HCl, whereas in the burette we have taken sodium hydroxide. So what happens? First, highly acidic solution with the more number of H plus ion. So the concentration of H plus ion is more in the beginning. So always the H plus ion has high mobility, and it is always observed that ions with high mobility will obviously have high conductance ability. So here you can see the higher conductance value. So as you go on adding NaOH, the H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ions. You can see here formation of NaCl, sodium chloride. So the concentration of H plus goes on decreases, and the concentration of Na plus goes on increases, whereas ability of conduct Na plus ion is very less compared to H plus ion. So these are highly mobile ions, H plus ions. So what you can see, the value goes on decreases, and at some point you can see there will be again increase in the conductance value. So this point where there is change in the conductance value, where it starts increasing, that point we call it as the equivalence point or end point. So here this again, why there is increase in the conductance value, as you can see, as you go on adding NaOH, HCl, NaOH reacts, NaCl water is formed, and the number H plus ion goes on replaced by Na plus ion, and at one point there will not be no more H plus ion in the solution. So when there is no more H plus ion in the solution, what happens, whatever the sodium hydroxide we add from the burette, that gets accumulated in the beaker itself, because there is no more H plus ion available. Already it has reacted and converted into NaCl form. So in this case, what happens, there will be accumulation of NaOH. So the conductance value start increasing. When NaOH remains as it is in the beaker that you have added from the burette, it starts increasing the conductance, because even hydroxyl ion or OH minus ion has high mobility, so they will conduct more, so the conductance value increases. So you understood the first point is with respect to the strong acid HCl, highly acidic nature, that is in the beaker we have taken acid. So we start adding sodium hydroxide from the burette. So once you start adding, H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ions. So the conductance value goes on decreases, and at some point once all the HCl has been reacted, there is no more H plus ion in the beaker. At that point, whatever the sodium hydroxide we add, so that NaOH remains as it is in the beaker. Now whatever the conductance we get, that is with respect to the hydroxyl ion. So this is with respect to the H plus ion. As you can see, H plus ion concentration goes on increases, and from this point if you go on adding sodium hydroxide after the end point, you observe conductance value goes on increases, because the concentration of OH minus ion increases, it remains as it is. So this is about the principle behind the conductometry titration of strong acid with strong base. Next is one more example, weak acid with strong base. So we have a specific example for weak acid. We can take acetic acid and strong base as sodium hydroxide. So when sodium hydroxide and acetic acid titration is carried out, there will be formation of sodium acetate, sodium salt of acetic acid. That is nothing but the H plus ion of acetic acid has been replaced by, H plus ion of acetic acid has been replaced by Na plus ion of the base. What you can see, the highly mobile H plus ion is replaced by less mobile Na plus ion, and as the reaction proceeds, the concentration of H plus ion goes on decreases, and after the end point, once all the acetic acid has been reacted, there is no more acetic acid in the beaker. That time sodium hydroxide gets accumulated in the beaker. Next, the conductance will be with respect to the hydroxyl ion, which is also highly mobile anion. So this is a graphical representation of the titration of weak acid with strong base. So when you plot the conductance versus volume of base added, what you can see, initially the value, conductance value, it starts increasing. So steady increase you can observe, not sharp increase, steady increase, and after some point you can see there will be sudden change. It starts increasing gradually. Conductance value starts increasing gradually. So you will get two linear lines corresponding to the neutralization of acetic acid first, next with respect to the accumulation of sodium hydroxide, strong base next. So this is with respect to weak acid, this is with respect to strong acid. So here when you extrapolate these two lines, whatever the intersection point we are getting, that is the equivalence point corresponding to the acid base titration. So as you can see here, previous case we have seen, in case of strong acid HCl, the value was going on decreasing steadily, and here in this case there is steady increase, slow increase you can see. This is mainly because of the formation of sodium acetate. In the first case there was formation of sodium chloride, whereas here this is a electrolyte, so, and it is stronger electrolyte compared to acetic acid. That is why with respect to acetic acid, the conductance value will be increasing steadily due to the formation of this sodium acetate, and this line is with respect to the accumulation of NaOH due to the mobility of hydroxyl ion of sodium hydroxide. There is a sharp increase in the conductance value. So this is about the weak acid versus strong base titration. So you need to explain this in detail along with the graph followed by the reaction that takes place. So next, one more case that we are going to discuss is mixture of acid, that is strong acid and weak acid versus strong base. Now specifically we have discussed strong acid versus strong base as well as weak acid versus strong base. So when we take mixture of acid together, so when we take both acetic acid and HCl in the beaker, what happens? So first, the acid mixture, among the acid mixture, the strong acid, which will dissociate completely and readily, that will react with the base first. So there will be neutralization of HCl, NaOH plus HCl, formation of NaCl. So what you can expect, the conductance value goes on, increases. And once all the HCl has been consumed, neutralized completely, there is no more H plus ion from HCl. But there is one more acid in the mixture, that is acetic acid. So sodium hydroxide starts reacting with acetic acid. So again the next reaction will be with respect to the replacement of acetic acid H plus ion with sodium hydroxide Na plus ion, and where it will result in a electrolyte. So this is comparatively strong electrolyte compared to acetic acid. So how you expect the graph? So first thing, what you can see, neutralization of HCl. So you can see point B and C here. These are the two equivalence points. First point B is corresponding to the neutralization of strong acid, that is hydrochloric acid. Second point is the neutralization of weak acid, that is acetic acid. So what you can see here, first the conductance value goes on, decreases, that is mainly because of the first reaction, that is the dissociation of strong acid with sodium hydroxide, how H plus ions are replaced by Na plus ion. Once all the HCl has been consumed, from this point you can observe there will be steady increase in the conductance value, not decrease. As you can see, this is also a neutralization reaction, this is also a neutralization reaction. Here the conductance goes on, decreases because of the nature of HCl, and here the conductance steady increase. Nature is different because the formation of sodium acetate, which is the comparatively stronger electrolyte. And after this point there is no more H plus availability from HCl as well as from acetic acid. It has neutralized completely. So whatever the sodium hydroxide you add from the burette gets accumulated in the beaker, and next the conductance value, there will be sharp increase because of the presence of strong base. So this is about the titration of mixture of acid versus strong base. So from this graph we can find out the volume of HCl present in the mixture as well as the volume of acetic acid present in the mixture. So quantitatively we can determine what is the amount of HCl present in the mixture and what is the amount of acetic acid present in the mixture, as well as we can explain this titration by seeing the graph, how the product formed will influence the nature of the conductance value. So with this we have discussed about the concept of conductometry titration. Mainly it is applicable in case of acid base titration as well as in redox titrations. And here mainly the conductance, it depends on how the conductance value varies during the titration depending on the nature of the mobility of the ions and concentration of the ions. And we use conductivity cell and conductometer, and the titration setup also we discussed here. Coming to the next method, that is potentiometric method. So what is potentiometer? So this is the representation of a potentiometer. So in the engineering chemistry lab related to your syllabus, we will be performing colorimetry experiment, conductometry experiment, as well as this potentiometry experiment also. So conductometry experiment with respect to mixture of strong acid and weak acid versus strong base we will be performing, and already we discussed about the theory principle part of that titration. And here in case of potentiometry we will be studying the redox titration with respect to ferrous ammonium sulfate, determination of Mohr salt. The concentration of Mohr salt can be identified using potentiometer. So this is how the setup is done for the experimental condition. So what is this potentiometer? So mainly this method, potentiometer is the instrument and potentiometry is the method which is used for the determination of concentration of the analyte, ion or substance. So how we measure the concentration here? By measuring the potential developed when we use the electrodes. That is, one is the reference electrode and the indicator electrode. So here the potential varies. Potential of the electrode is the function of concentration of the ions, that is oxidized species and the reduced species. So this potentiometry method is widely applicable for redox titration studies. In case of conductometer, we record the conductance value. Potentiometer, we record the if potential developed, that is the EMF value we are going to record. Whereas in colorimeter experiment, we will be recording the absorbance. So in this method, mainly it involves the analysis or determination of concentration of an ion or analyte or substance by measuring the potential developed. So we record the EMF here in the instrument. So EMF, electromotive force, is displayed here, and here mainly how this potential is varied during the titration. Potential is varied mainly because of the variation in the concentration of the reduced species to that of the oxidized species. So during the redox titration, how the concentration of reduced species and oxidized species varies, based on that the potential is developed with respect to the function of the electrode. So you can see the electrode is set here. Two electrodes we need to use, reference electrode and a indicator electrode. So here how the measurement of potential is done, based on the concentration of analyte, and we use two electrode here, and whatever the analyte solution we are taking, that we need to take in the beaker as you have seen in the previous diagram, and it is dipped with two electrodes. So analytical cell has two electrode, that is, one is a reference electrode and another one indicator electrode. So usually a inert platinum electrode is used as the indicator electrode, and calomel electrode is the most commonly used reference electrode. In addition to that, silver chloride electrodes can also be used. So mainly the response of the electrode depends on the concentration of the analyte, that is the concentration of reduced species and the oxidized species. So here this is the theory behind, and as well as the instrumentation behind potentiometric titration. So mainly this method involves the change in concentration, and based on that how the potential is varied, recording the potential with respect to the concentration of the ions in the analyte solution. And mainly this method does not involve the addition of any indicator. So direct titration or redox titration studies are carried out, and finally the equivalence point or end point is determined graphically. So in this we will be discussing in detail about one of the potentiometric titration studied in detail that we are going to perform in the lab also, that is determination of Mohr salt solution using potassium dichromate. So here Mohr salt is nothing but ferrous ammonium sulfate. So here we are going to find out the concentration of Mohr salt, given Mohr salt solution. What is the amount of FAS given using potentiometer, and we will be using oxidizing agent here, potassium dichromate. So in this titration, Mohr salt acts as a reducing agent, whereas potassium dichromate acts as a oxidizing agent. We are all familiar about the redox reaction. So here we will be studying the redox titration only. So redox reaction is where there will be simultaneous oxidation and reduction process that takes place, and we know what is oxidation, what is reduction. So oxidizing agent will oxidize the another species and it gets reduced. So there will be change in oxidation state during the redox reaction. So this is the setup of a potentiometry experiment. As you can see how the analyte solution. So this is the analyte solution that we are going to take in the beaker, and this is the magnetic stirrer connected to the usually nowadays potentiometer along with the magnetic stirrer is available. So here it is connected to the potentiometer, and you can see the electrodes. One is the reference electrode, another one is the indicator electrode. Platinum is commonly used here and calomel electrode is the commonly used reference electrode. And you can see the burette, and in this experiment Mohr salt is the analyte. We need to find out the concentration of Mohr salt that we are going to take in the beaker, whereas in the burette we will be taking sodium dichromate solution. And we need to add 1 test tube of concentrated sulfuric acid also in order to maintain the acidic condition, so that dichromate acts as a oxidizing agent under acidic condition. So now this is the reaction that takes place during the redox titration. So when you add potassium dichromate from the burette to the beaker, so beaker contains Mohr salt. Mohr salt is nothing but ferrous ammonium sulfate. This is the molecular formula of Mohr salt. As you can see, FeSO4 NH4 twice SO4 hydrated form. So ferrous ammonium sulfate. You can see the oxidation state of iron here, Fe2 plus ferrous ions are present. So during the redox titration, when you add potassium dichromate from the burette to the beaker, what happens? The ferrous ion in the beaker analyte solution will get oxidized to ferric form. So Fe2 plus gets oxidizes to Fe3 plus form. So meanwhile the oxidizing agent chromate ion Cr2O72 minus, this is chromate ion with oxidation state +6. It will get reduced to chromium ion with oxidation state 3 plus. As you can see, there is a clear difference in the oxidation state. Chromate ion gets reduced to Cr3 plus and they oxidize ferrous ions to ferric ion. So here you can see the H plus ion due to the presence of addition of sulfuric acid. We need acidic condition for the oxidation process. So dichromate acts as oxidizing agent under acidic condition. So during the titration, what happens? Before we add potassium dichromate to the beaker which contains Mohr salt and sulfuric acid, so there is no chromate ion in the beaker, only ferrous ions are present. So before we add dichromate, the potential is developed with respect to the concentration of Fe2 plus ion. So as you go on adding dichromate, what happens? Fe2 plus ions gets converted to Fe3 plus. So first 0.5 ml you add, few ions gets converted to Fe3 plus form. So next again 0.5 ml you add. So as you go on adding, what you can see, Fe2 plus oxidizes to Fe3 plus. So the concentration of Fe3 plus goes on increases, Fe2 plus goes on decreases. So as there is change in concentration of Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus, there will be change in the potential of the system, which is indicated by the potentiometer. So the EMF value also varies. So at this point the value potential developed will be with respect to Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus system. But once all the ferrous ion in the Mohr salt solution gets oxidizes to ferric form, then what happens? Then if you add potassium dichromate, what happens? That time whatever the dichromate you add, that remains in the beaker because there is no more ferrous ions to react. So the first beginning the potential was with respect to the concentration of Fe2 plus ion and Fe3 plus ion, and after the equivalence point or the end point, the potential is with respect to the chromate ion, and already the reduced Cr3 plus ions are there in the solution. So the potential will be with respect to chromium system. So this is the principle behind potentiometry titration. The concentration of oxidized and reduced species and cell system, how it influences the potential. So as you can see, chromate ion Fe2 plus to Fe3 plus Cr2O7 minus to Cr3 plus form is formed here, and this is a graphical representation with respect to this experiment, where you can see if you plot the change in EMF versus change in volume versus volume of potassium dichromate or the oxidizing agent, what you can see, there will be steady variation in the potential developed here, and at some point there will be sharp change, sudden jump in the value, as you can see, and after that again steady variation in the potential. So why this sudden jump is observed near the equivalence point? So this point we call it as V equivalent or the equivalence point. So as I mentioned, before the equivalence point, the potential is with respect to Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus concentration, whereas after the equivalence point, what happens? The potential trend suddenly reverses. It increases suddenly, because the potential developed here at this point is with respect to Cr2O7 minus and Cr3 plus. So chromate and chromium ion. So as you can see, the potential with respect to Fe2 plus ratio of Fe2 plus concentration and Fe3 plus, it is under normal standard condition is usually around 0.68 volt with respect to standard hydrogen electrode, that is in 1 molar sulfuric acid solution. So the value is around 0.68 volt, whereas the potential with respect to the ratio of chromate chromium couple, that is the Cr2O7 minus to Cr3 plus ratio, is around plus 1.3 volt in 1 molar sulfuric acid with respect to standard hydrogen electrode. That is why at this point, when the equilibrium shifts to chromate chromium system, at that point there will be sudden increase in the potential. So this is about the principle behind Mohor salt potassium dichromate titration, and you know how the potential developed, how it is calculated using the Nernst equation concept. As you know, here mainly the potential is with respect to the concentration of oxidized species and reduced species, and mainly the procedure part also I have explained. First, Mohor salt solution is taken in burette and added 1 test tube of sulfuric acid. We need acidic condition, and now the solution contains Fe2 plus ion, that is the reduced form of iron is there. Now platinum wire is dipped in the solution, and how the redox reaction, when you start adding the dichromate from the burette, redox electrode of ferric ferrous system is established. That is, we can represent it as platinum is the indicator electrode. Of course, we are using the reference electrode also, calomel electrode. So now the system is platinum Fe3 plus Fe2 plus system. So with respect to that, how the potential is calculated using this Nernst equation. As we know what is Nernst equation, E is equal to E naught plus 0.0591 by N log of oxidized species concentration to that of reduced species concentration. So with respect to this system, the potential is calculated based on the concentration of ferric ferrous ions, and when all the dichromate ions reduce all the Fe2 plus oxidized Fe2 plus ions, what happens? Then the concentration of Fe2 plus to Fe3 plus gradually decreases, and with respect to oxidized to reduced species concentration gradually increases. So after the end point, what happens? Whatever the redox developed, it is the redox electrode is determined with respect to chromate chromium system instead of ferric ferrous system. So how the cell can be represented before the end point and after the end point? So before the end point with respect to ferric ferrous, after the end point chromate chromium Cr6 plus and Cr3 plus form. So next is about the application of potentiometry method. So mainly it is used for the determination of the concentration of the analyte. So mainly various type of acid base reactions can be studied, as well as redox titration can be studied, and the concentration of a unknown analyte can be determined experimentally using the instrument potentiometer. So again, with the chromate chromium reaction is discussed here, represented here for the understanding purpose, how chromate is reduced to chromium Cr3 plus form, and how the potential, why it varies sudden jump near the equivalence point, because of the potential of Cr2 O72 minus to Cr3 plus. When the potential system shifts from ferric ferrous form to chromate chromium system, then there will be sharp increase in the potential, and that system is about 1.3 volt in 1 molar H2SO4, and for a ferrous ferric, as I mentioned, it is 0.6 volt. Again, this is a typical graph where you can see sudden sharp increase near the equivalence point with respect to the shift in the equilibrium from ferrous ferric system to chromate chromium system. So with this we have discussed about the two important instrumental techniques, that is conductometry and potentiometry, about the working, theory, application, as well as instrumentation. So all the four concepts must be revised thoroughly. So thank you all. In the next video lecture we will be discussing about two spectroscopic technique, that is atomic absorption spectroscopy and flame emission spectrophotometry. Two methods will be discussing. Thank you all.